All right, here we go. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Want to welcome y'all to yet another second episode this week of Club Pizzle. I'm of course your host, Don P. Pizzle, Pie God. And as y'all can see, I'm dressed a little different today. A special occasion today that this edition of Club Pizzle is all about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I made that decision that I would just do a Cleveland Cavaliers midseason episode. I was going to wait till next week to do it, but I said, hey, what better time than the present? Also be looking one day next week, or probably the standalone Club Pizzle. I'm going to be doing the NBA mid-season review and looking at what I picked at the beginning of the season and what I'm going to pick going forward. My NFL picks, I think my NFL picks were fine. My NFL picks, I had Kansas City, San Francisco at the beginning. I had Kansas City, San Francisco midseason. I just waited till I got to the playoffs to be stupid and go away from Kansas City, San Francisco. So we're gonna do that. But I don't have much because y'all just saw me yesterday or earlier today. If y'all are tuned in, if y'all see the Spotify link for Club Pizzle, it dropped at 216 because today is 216. It's 216 day. So this is immediately going up on all platforms. Like Spotify, it's 216. It's literally 216. Everything's going up at the same time. Y'all can check this out. Y'all can check me out here, or y'all can check it out on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Twitch. We everywhere tonight. So let's get to it, man. Let's talk about our Cleveland Cavaliers. As you know, they made a couple of moves during the offseason. Max Strus, George Niang, Ty Jerome. I mean, we haven't seen Ty Jerome and probably won't see Ty Jerome this year, if I'm going to be all the way honest with you. Let guys go. Had a pretty decent offseason. Came into this year trying to erase what we saw last year in last year's first round of the playoffs. 50 games. Eastern Conference, first round, Eastern Conference home court advantage. Only to lose that thing to the New York Knicks. It hurt, it stung, but it is what it is. You got to retool. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have done that. They are currently 36-17. They are first in the Central Division. And they are currently sitting at second in the Eastern Conference behind the Boston Celtics, who are absolutely cooking right now. I can't even hate on what the Boston Celtics are doing. They're cooking so much. But 36-17, second in the East. Since the turn of the calendar year, they're like 19-2. They've been kicking major ass. It was a little bit of a slow start at the beginning. Blowing the home opener against OKC in a game in which I was at. There was another few games in there. New Orleans came in and blew their doors off. But after that, like, it was a bunch of, it's just been one of those years. It's been one of those seasons where it's like, okay, We were without Jared Allen for a bit. By the time he came back and was getting in a little bit of a rhythm, Donovan missed some games, and then Darius breaks his face. Evan Mobley goes to have surgery on his knee, and he's out. And both of those guys were out from December and most of January, if not all of January. So we had no idea what was going to happen with this team. What happened with this team was they picked it up. They went, I can't think off the top of my head, but I mentioned it. They kicked ass without Garland and without Mobley. With Donovan Mitchell playing at the MVP level that he's playing at, he's averaging 28 points and 6 assists and like 5 rebounds. He's kicking major ass. Jared Allen, after missing the first few games of the season, he's averaging 15 points a game, and he's averaging, you can say 16 and 11, 15.6 and 10.6. You round them up, that's 16 and 11. That's not too shabby. It was to the point with Jared Allen where you think, okay, he might creep his way into the All-Star game. But that didn't happen, and that's okay. Like, we can't get upset about that. Scotty Barnes playing lights out, and Trae Young should have been an initial name to the All-Star team. And that's okay. Like, it's fine. The play of Jared Allen, he's really stepped up. That stigma, like, yo, he's soft. He did get his lunch taken from him. Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson was taking his lunch. They took his lunch. I was at those first 2 games, and boy, was I disgusted. It was bad. It was bad, man. It was bad. It was not fun to watch. And watch him in those 5 games get on like that. But he's come back this year. He's playing tougher. He's rebounding well. He's found a little bit of touch around the paint with his flip shots and all of that. So salute to Jared Allen. Donovan Mitchell, again, playing at an MVP level, 28 points, 6 assists, closer to 29, and averaging 6.3 assists a game. And he played very, very well during that stretch without Darius Garland, where he's playing point guard. Or I won't even say he was playing point guard. He was just out there as the primary playmaker, which I guess is the point guard. If you want to call it the point guard, that's what it is. He just listen. I've been to my share of Cavs games this year. I've been to a lot of them. I can't even say exactly how many. I lost count. That's how many I've been to this year. It's closer to the 10 range. And I'm going to more this year. And they make the playoffs, I'm going. But watching that man play in person is something, man. He plays with fire. He's not a tall guy, but he's built very solid, upper body strength, long arms, big hands. He has the footwork, like everything he's been doing. This team is second in the East without 40% of their starting lineup. Mitchell missed some games during the year. Allen missed the beginning of the year. We were without Karis LeVert for a little bit, and Donovan missed some games himself. But somehow this team is second in the East. With Boston playing lights out, with Milwaukee being healthy for the most part before they fired their coach, and I think that kind of crushed that team. I'll get to that on a later show. Philly without Embiid, and the Knicks are playing okay, but Julius Randle just went down. I believe Jalen Brunson is okay from his injury that he had what was it, last week before last, somewhere like in the like a recent thing with him. So Jalen Brunson is fine. I think if we saw the Knicks again, the Cleveland Cavaliers saw the New York Knicks again in the playoffs, I think the outcome is different. Because this is a different team. It's a year better in experience. You have a George Niang who has experience. You have Max Strus who has experience. Heat culture coming from Miami, fresh off of a finals trip. So, also, unsung hero, Tristan Thompson stepped up in a big way before he was suspended. He was playing all right. Like he does what Tristan does, whether it's 6-6, 7-7, 8-8, whatever he's doing. Tristan Thompson, and my thoughts on Tristan Thompson was just that he's gonna be what Udonis Haslem was to the Miami Heat. He's the veteran guy, even though he's not that old. Tristan Thompson is what, 32 years old, 33 years old. He's the veteran guy who can help Evan Mobley and help Jared Allen. I honestly believe Tristan Thompson was brought here and was not to see a second of playing time. That's just what I believe. That's just what my opinion was. But happenstance, he got to get on in there. And great job, Tristan. Hopefully he'll be back soon. He's serving a 25-game suspension for violating the performance enhancing policy. But get back soon, big fella. Evan Mobley. Now, in my text thread with my guy Chris Cargile, shout out to Chris. In my text thread, me and him at least twice a week have lengthy conversations about Evan Mobley and where he should be and where he's at. To be honest with y'all, and I think I've had this talk. I think I've said this, and I think I've let this be known. I watch a lot of basketball. I have a lot of hours of basketball watching. I've gone to a bunch of Cavs games. The Wolstein Center is my third home outside of my house and my job. I'm down at Wolstein and Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse a lot. I live down there. That's my other house. Those are my other houses down there. Watching Evan Mobley play and kind of like knowing what the finished product is supposed to look like, or knowing what the finished product look like. And when I say the finished product, I'm talking about what he's going to end up, and like what is going to end up being his bread and butter for the next 10, 12 years of his career. He's Anthony Davis, or the player comparison I've always had for him was Toronto Chris Bosh. I see it. I can see it. I don't know if everybody else sees it, but I can see that. I know what the finished product looks like. And it's not now but it's getting there. I feel like it's getting there. A lot of people are saying that he's not developing. I think he's developing just fine. And I've said this on this show before, on this platform before. If Evan Mobley played for the Detroit Pistons, if Evan Mobley played for the Houston Rockets before Ime Udoka got down there, if Evan Mobley played for, who else has been living in a lottery lately? Just one of the bad teams. Just think about the bad teams. If he played with the Utah Jazz, the current Utah Jazz, if he played with maybe Orlando before Paolo and Jalen Suggs and those guys, maybe even if he was in Oklahoma City, he would already be averaging 24-10 or 24-15 or 26-12 or something like that. And that's out of necessity, because he would have been touching the ball a lot. Let's just say he was drafted by the Rockets or the Pistons in that draft and not the Cavaliers, and somehow we ended up with a Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green. He would be looked at as that, because he would have been it's because they needed him. They would have had to force feed him the ball. But coming to a place like Cleveland, where you have a big in place, where you already have Darius Garland here, at that time you had Colin Sexton. You had these ball dominant guards. Okay, you had Kevin Love. Kevin Love was here still. That gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Now, Chris disagrees. Chris always says, no, he has to be better. He has to demand the ball. He has to be a little more assertive. I don't think that's what he is. If you look at Evan Mobley and you listen to Evan Mobley talk, and if you watch his interviews, he's a very quiet, very mild-mannered, very mellow guy. Met him. He's very laid back. He's very quiet. He's a humble gentleman. His brother, on the other hand, is more outgoing, more outspoken, and has more of the attitude. Always said if Evan had Isaiah's attitude, he'd be a fucking animal right now. And the Cavaliers would have won a championship last year, or at least made it to the conference finals last year, if Evan had Isaiah's attitude. That's just my personal opinion, because I'm a Cleveland Charge season ticket holder, and I have an opportunity to watch Isaiah Mobley play all the time. I just watch his attitude and his fire and just the way that he goes about the game. Both of the guys are skilled. If you put the two of them together, you got the best power forward in the fucking league. I guarantee y'all that. But I'm watching what he's doing, and I've been watching what he's doing since he's been back from injury. He's on minutes restriction, and I'm just looking at his numbers, and I'm like, holy fuck. He's getting 18 and 14, 22 and 12. And this is in limited minutes. And the shooting splits are ridiculous. He is efficient as, oh my God, it's crazy. I'm looking at these splits and I'm like, holy shit. Wait till he get off a minutes restriction. It might be ugly for the rest of the league. It's a possibility that they could get to the 1 seed. They're not that far back. And they have one of the easiest schedules moving forward. They just have to realize this last part of this season, these last 39 games or so, that they're all going to be intense. They're all going to look like the Philly game this past week and the Chicago game from the other night. That playoff intensity is going to pick up. It's going to get tight. So once they realize that, I think they're going to be okay. And I think Evan Mobley's going to be okay once he comes off a minutes restriction. He's stretching the floor more. He's shooting that three with confidence. He's making that three with confidence. And he's making that three. And that's stretching the floor. And that gives Allen a little more room to operate in the middle, because a lot of people are saying, well, these two can't work because they're clogging up the middle. Fine. So Mobley stretching it out, hitting his midi, hitting the three, stepping into it with confidence, not hesitating, shooting that thing. Isaac Okoro is playing at an all defensive team level. Whether it's first, second, or third team, Isaac Okoro is one of the 15 best perimeter defenders in this league. Or one of the, scratch that. He's one of the best, one of the 15 best defenders in this league, period. He's playing at an all defensive level. There's another guy on this team that has his defensive efficiency rating, and I know y'all hate those dumbass analytical stats, but it just is what it is. Dean Wade is up there when it comes to the perimeter guys, but I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to just throw that out there. I'm doing that just to piss Chris off. He's going to hit me like, the fuck you say that for? Okoro is also shooting with some confidence. He's averaging 9 points a game. I know, and shout out to my guy, DJ Chris Styles, who's been very, very tough on Isaac Okoro. He's been rough on him, man, because he feels like Isaac Okoro being the 5th pick in the draft, he doesn't score enough. But again, coming to a team where you already had 2 ball-dominant guys in Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, you're not going to get that. So what do? You find what you do. He is to the Cavs what Marcus Smart was to the Celtics. Top 5 pick, lottery pick, come in. Oh, I can make my bones playing defense. This is when I'm coming in the league. I can come in the league and already do this and develop my offensive game. He's shooting with a little more confidence. The bench guys have found their role. George Niang coming in. I saw George Niang go off in the game. Shooter, slanging. Sammy Merrill has come in fresh from the G League last year, worked his way up, got him a roster spot, made the team, and is coming in. He's shooting 44% from 3. I'm telling you, you give him this much airspace, and he's letting it fly, and they're probably going to go in. Dean Wade has found his role. Dean Wade does everything but score. He's averaging 5 points a game. If Dean Wade gave you like 10 points a game, you could make him your starter. But with a guy like Max Strus in there who's starting and he's averaging 12 points a game, if Dean Wade put up Max Strus numbers, lock the door. Okoro, again, he's playing at an all defensive level. Karis LeVert is one of the best 6 men in this league, averaging 14-4 off the bench. Craig Porter Jr. stepped in a little bit and was playing some ball. I'm going to get more on Craig. And I brought up Tristan Thompson. Now, once we get to the playoffs, the rotation shrink. And depending on matchup, any combination of Niang, Merrill, Wade, Okoro, well, LeVert and Okoro are going to come off that bench. They're going to play. JB loves Isaac Okoro because he plays defense, and Karis LeVert is our 6th man. So between Niang and Wade and Merrill will be in the situational. Niang or Wade will play depending on matchup, because you shrink the rotation down to about 8. And the one thing that I've noticed that JB has done since the guys have been back, and I believe it's because of the minutes restriction, he's been staggering Mobley and Allen's minutes. They only played together probably since they've been back. Well, since Mobley's been back, I think him and Allen see maybe 12 to 14, 15 minutes on the floor together. And that's only because Mobley's on minutes restriction. Same thing he's been doing with Donovan and Darius Garland. Their minutes are staggered, and they're probably going to do that during the playoffs. I like what JB has done with these rotations. These rotations are lights out. Like, he's doing a great job. Let me clap it up for JB Bickerstaff. Because I did an actual show where it was like, all right, it's a possibility. And this is when the guys went down. It's a possibility that if this team struggles or looks bad at some point, they might let JB go. I was looking at JB Bickerstaff replacements, and I think they took off after that. They did. If I'm not mistaken, I got to go back and look at that date on that show. But I believe that's what happened. He's gotten this rotation together. He's figured it out. And I will say the future of the Cleveland Cavaliers looks bright. You got Porter, you got Craig Porter Jr., you got Imani Bates, you got Pete Nance, you got Zaire Smith, and you got Isaiah Mobley. All five of those guys have saw minutes with the Cleveland Charge, our G League affiliate. Craig Porter just made his Charge debut. Hopefully in one of the games next week, we see Craig Porter Jr. in action with the Cleveland Charge at Wolstein. We have been dying to see, I have been dying to see Craig Porter Jr. in a Charge uniform. I was telling one of my buddies that this is also a season ticket holder down there, and I told him this at the last Charge game. I said the def lineup would have been Sharif Cooper, Craig Porter Jr., Imani Bates, Isaiah Mobley, and Pete Nance. That is the def lineup. And lo and behold, what happened in this past Wednesday's Cleveland Charge game? That was the def lineup, and they won that game by 20. Craig Porter Jr., baller, been balling, had put up some significant minutes and played some significant minutes in the absence of Darius Garland and in the absence of Ty Jerome, who we're probably not going to see this year unless they say, hey, you want some minutes down in the G? Go on down there and get you some. Pete Nance signed a 10-day. He was there. I've been watching Pete. I've seen his game evolve a little bit. Zaire Smith just recently signed, I believe it's a 10-day. So he'll be back with the Charge right after the All-Star break. But if y'all knew what Zaire Smith's story was, Zaire Smith, this is actually Zaire Smith's first year back playing basketball at this level in 3 years. Like, he had some type of a food allergy and found out, and he got real sick, and he lost a bunch of weight, and he's just now working his way back. He's a former first-round pick of the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe he was involved in the Mikal Bridges trade to Phoenix or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what that was. Isaiah Mobley, we know that's Evan's big brother. He's the anchor down there. I talked to Coach Mike Garrity about him, and he said, that's my anchor. And let's get to who y'all want to hear about. Let's talk about Imani Bates. First of all, salute Imani Bates, currently playing in the Rising Stars and also pulling double duty by playing in the G League All-Star game. Imani Bates, baby. Now, I see online, and me and Chris have this conversation all the time about Imani. He's averaging 18 down in the G League. His average has gone down in the past couple of weeks. Like, it's been a rough stretch of games for the Charge outside of this win this past Wednesday. But I have an opportunity to see that kid up close and personal. Y'all are looking at the president of the Imani Bates fan club. I sat here and told y'all, if he falls, Kobe, pick up the phone and draft Imani Bates. I told all of my friends, I told everybody with ears, Cleveland needs to draft Imani Bates. What are we going to do in the draft? We don't have no picks. Imani Bates. I said it, and it happened. And I told him that to his face. I said, I feel like I willed you here. I didn't think the role, I saw you here 3 years ago. And I said, I feel like I'm responsible that you're here. It's like not all the bullshit and the trouble that you got into. It's like, but I feel like I'm responsible that you're here. Like I said that you were going to be a part of this organization. He was real nice and gracious about it. He laughed about it. It was real cool. He's cool. And I had an opportunity to speak to his pops at the last Charge game. And I told him, I said, y'all are doing a great job with him. Keep him locked in. We're happy that he's here. We're glad that he's here. I'm glad that he's here. I was speaking for myself. I say, you're doing a great job with him. Keep working with him. Had to start with love because what I'm getting ready to say might sound harsh, but it's reality. He's not quite ready for the NBA just yet. Can he score? You're fucking right, he can score. Bonafide score. Shooter. Got a strap. However, with a guy like him, 6'9", 170 pounds, he has to get a little stronger. He has to get in the weight room. When I bump into his dad, I'm going to tell him what kind of a diet y'all got him on. Y'all need to feed that boy. I make brisket. We can y'all come over. I will invite him and his family over my house for a Sunday dinner. Me and my wife will hook some shit up. Like, look, bro, I got brisket. I whip up a mean brisket. He need to eat a little bit. He needs to put on some weight. He needs to get stronger. His handle is in the G League. He can get it off in the G League. But I watched guys like Elfrid Payton, who played in the league. I watched guys like Ty Washington, who plays in the league. I watched guys like Jordan Bell, who plays in the league or played in the league. I watched those guys force him to do something else. When he can't get to his go-to move, I watched him go right into his chest and kind of fluster him. As of late, he's developing other moves. He needs another go-to move to at least get to his mid-range or at least make them think he's going to get to his mid-range and shoot the midi. If he shoots the midi, he can be unstoppable from three and from the mid. He doesn't have crazy athletic ability. He's not jumping over people. His hands aren't, he doesn't have the biggest hands, but he got good handle. And again, he's not crazy athletic. The footwork, everything is there though. Like you can see, I can see the differences in his game. I can see that he's been working on his game and that his game has improved. I'm watching it with my two eyes. I'm watching him get to the midi, but won't take the midi. I'm watching him make that move, get into that mid-range, and pass it off to a guy, pass it off to the open guy. That's another thing he's been doing as of late. He's been passing the ball a lot. I watched Coach Mike Garrity pull him to the side, say something to him. I watched his Mike Garrity's assistant, Chris Darnell, pull him to the side, say something. I watched Boobie Gibson, DJ Ham, Sam Clancy, that whole entire coaching staff. I even watched the guys, Sharif Cooper, Isaiah Mobley, Pete Nance. I'm watching all of these guys, Gabe Osaboy, shout out to Lodi G. I watched an entire basketball team Talk to him. Keep him locked in. It feels like word came from Kobe Altman. This is gonna, he's ours. We're gonna keep him here, develop him, get him ready. I believe by next season, maybe, or maybe the season after that, he could see some significant minutes. I'm just saying, y'all, he's not ready yet. Y'all want him to get to the NBA so fast, and y'all want listen. That's why they signed Max Strus and George Niang, and that's why Karis LeVert was re-signed. I believe if those guys aren't back, Imani Bates is seeing 25 minutes a game with the Cavaliers. If you don't re-sign Karis LeVert, if you don't bring in Max Strus, if you don't bring in George Niang. This is how I feel. Can this team win a championship? Or can this team make a deep playoff run? Yes, they can. Will they make a deep playoff run? We're just going to have to see. With that said, y'all, I'm going to call it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I really greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, this is the second episode. This is just some things that I'm trying. Tune in next week, Club Pizzle. We are going to talk. I'm going to recap All-Star Weekend. NBA second half. I'll let y'all know my finals picks and what, and like post all of that stuff. So y'all know what it is. Always protect your peace, protect your energy. The message is more important than the messenger. And creators, be great. Stay positive, because negative energy is trash. Until next week, y'all. Peace.